a cooking show on Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation. So thank you everybody for being here. This is Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation. Of course, it's every Monday night. And this evening we have chef and author Tommy Centola joining us here on Zoom In on a Conversation. Thank you, Tommy, for being here. Thank you very much. And look at that wonderful kitchen. I wish mine looked like that. So Tommy is going to prepare a beautiful dish for us, but I must thank our sponsors before we get started. So Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation is sponsored by Isla's Diamonds, LLC, brought to you by Milton McCulloch, author of Love and Emancipation and host of Night Talk, L.D. Robinson from Ladero Press and the Fresh Book Festival 2022. If you have any questions for Tommy, please put them in the chat box. We will get to them during his conversation. Here is his book. It is on Ladero Press. It is called Creole and Cajun Comfort Food by Tommy Centola. Please get your copy today at www.laderopress.com. So, Chef Centola, thank you for being here. Please give us a little information about you.
Okay, I'm born and raised in the city of New Orleans. My wife Peggy and I moved up to Searcy, Arkansas following Hurricane Katrina, which is where my writing journey began. I've been cooking since I was 8 years old with my mom. I've been working in the restaurant business, oh wow, too long to even mention. But when I moved up here, it was a little bit of a culture shock, learning, ingredients that I thought, were second nature to me in New Orleans. You had to find them here. And that led me to the recipes I had. And then once I started finding them, well, I started, putting the first book together and collecting the recipes. And that's how I got started writing.
And so you've been in the food industry, I thought 20 years, but you certainly corrected me. It's been 43 years. Tell us how you decided to engulf yourself in food and in the industry.
I don't think it was necessarily a decision. My first job was at five-star restaurant, unfortunately now closed in New Orleans, called the Roots. It was the best restaurant in the city of New Orleans. And I've just never left one portion of the business. I mean, I've been on all sides of the business, and there was just something infectious about it. Not long after the Roots closed, the chef walked into the restaurant I was working at, and he and I sat down together and talked for a good hour and a half, just about the business in general, and how many of us way back then, I mean, you were talking a good 25 plus years, were still involved in the restaurant business in some way. So it just never left me. It was so enjoyable working there. You wouldn't think a five-star restaurant and enjoyment would mix. But when he had sold his restaurant to his sons, and when you walk in Halloween and the chefs are behind the line with masks on, it's a fun place to work, and it's infectious.
And so you went to De La Salle High School in New Orleans. It's a Catholic high school. Yes, and you, at that time, I'm sure you knew you wanted to be in the industry while you were in high school. Is that correct?
I was working there when I was while I was in high school. Now, in the industry and as far as writing, well, those are two different things. In high school, I hated writing papers. I was not good at it, and I didn't like it. And I guess it took me to find something I was passionate about to write about. Now it's second nature to me. I've been writing a food column for 5 years in the local newspaper, along with my two books. And I've always made the comment, if my English teachers from then could see me now, I wondered how impressed they would be, because as far as I know, I am the first published
Wow.
author of my graduating class.
And
And
you did share a story about someone you did meet. Was that one of your professors?
yes, I did connect with one of my English teachers on Facebook. And he asked me, how do I get copies of your new book?
Nice.
So hopefully he's using that as a, hey, I taught this gentleman how to do this. And that's fine. I mean, I learned a lot in high school, but it took a lot. I just wasn't meant for writing back then.
I tell you this, I told you the story about me being the black sheep of my family, no pun intended, that I'm the only one who can be raised in a black family and can't cook. I'm the only one out of the family who didn't get blessed with the hands of cooking. And so tell us about your family. You have 4 brothers and 2 sisters, is that correct?
I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters. One of the brothers likes to grill, but that's pretty much about it. All of us, we are all very accomplished. My mother was a fantastic cook. She had to be cooking for 7.
Right.
And I learned so much from my mother that, it was just, this pot right here that I'm getting ready to use.
Yes.
This was my mom's.
Oh,
This
wow.
was used for dirty rice and all kinds of cooking. There is just so much love in this pot. I was thrilled when my brother offered it to me. It means the world to me.
Do you know they don't make pots like that anymore? You know that.
And that's another thing. You can't find pots like
You
that.
cannot find pots like that. So tell us about your, I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to stop.
It is my favorite pot to cook in.
I do have a cast iron pot from my mother. It's always polished. It's never used, but I am really glad that she left it to me. That's something that I will cherish also. So tell us about your writing experience. You have 2 books. One you did in 2011, My Cookbook of New Orleans Style Dishes, and this one in 2020, which is Creole and Cajun Comfort Food through Ladero Press. Tell us about your experiences publishing.
Well, my first cookbook, You Can't Keep New Orleans Out of the Cook. It's what got me started, but it was night and day between the 2 books. The publisher I had, which is no longer in business, was basically one where you wanna publish a book? Sure, send it to us. I send it to you. Okay, we approve you. Okay, we're going to design the cover for you. And there wasn't much of a design with the cover. And okay, well, here's the format. You got 48 hours to check it out and send it back to us. So
wow.
They were pretty much pump it in, pump it out. And then once it was printed, guess what?
48 hours? Oh my.
48 hours. So I was the sole, needless to say, there were a few errors in that book. So, it was a good experience. My mother was an avid cookbook collector, as am I. And, as I got older, I thought, man, wouldn't it be nice to have a cookbook on the shelf in a bookstore?
Nice, with your name on it.
Yes, I got that with the first one. However, I think I am more proud of the second book than I was my first. It was an easier write. It was a longer process, and I'm glad it was a longer process because we ironed out all the issues that they had. Another unique thing, I mean, there are pictures in this cookbook.
Beautiful
I didn't have pictures in my first, and Well, thank you, because you're looking at the photographer. I learned a new skill. I guess I don't
Nice.
consider myself a food photographer. I'm very, very proud of two pictures. The first one being my cover recipe,
Yes.
crawfish etouffee, which I'm just demonstrating tonight. And the second one is my spice blend. I kept thinking, how am I going to display this spice blend?
Oh, I gotta find that one. Go ahead.
I started putting stuff on plates, putting stuff on, on towels. It just didn't look right. So I'm like, let me find some. I ordered some tasting spoons. I ordered a bunch of tasting spoons. So I put a little bit of each ingredient in the tasting spoon with my seasoning blend in the center.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's
everything.
That's probably that. Like I say, the cover and this one are my two favorite and the most proud pictures that I have.
Well, you did a fabulous job. The cover is very creative. The color is so good. It's not something that you will just walk by in a bookstore. You will take a moment and look at it. So hats off to you, because the cover is the most important thing. The inside, of course, is important, but you have to draw the person to the book in order for them to pick it up. And you did a great job.
Thank you. I just took the picture. I had a lot of help from Ladero Press, and like I say, I couldn't be more proud of this one, and I'm so thankful that I was chosen to be their first cookbook.
You're the first. This is a first all around, right? First cookbook from Ladero Press, first cooking show for the two of us. Well, let's just say this won't be the last, right? We're going to do this time and time again. So thank you so much. Tell us.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think no, it's not a hope. We're going to just do it. It's just, maybe I'll learn how to cook. Maybe it'll give me a push to help me.
I take that as a challenge.
So tell me, what are you going to demonstrate for us today?
Okay, I'm demonstrating my cover recipe, the crawfish etouffee. It's a cliche dish. It is, it's up there with jambalaya, gumbo. It's just one of those New Orleans style dishes. Now, first thing you're going to ask, Creole or Cajun? What makes the difference? When it comes to etouffee, the big difference is the roux. A Creole roux is just lightly cooked for a few minutes, mainly just to get the flour flavor out. For a Cajun roux in an etouffee, you're going to cook it longer. It'll be darker, a darker color etouffee. My wife, Peggy, loves the Creole version. So that's what I'm going to be cooking tonight.
Yeah, we want to keep her happy. Hey, Peggy?
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. And the thing about the etouffee is you can serve it over rice. You can serve it over pasta. Matter of fact, one of the more popular crawfish pasta dishes in New Orleans is crawfish Monica. And I think somebody took a crawfish etouffee, it's basically the same dish.
Okay, we missed that. You took say that again.
Okay, crawfish Monica is a very popular crawfish pasta dish.
Okay.
The etouffee, I think somebody took the base of an etouffee.
Okay.
Added a little bit of cream, put it over pasta, and there you have a crawfish Monica. Okay.
Now look at all that butter. Oof. That looks good though.
It's only 3/4 pound, 3 sticks of butter. And you just melt that down over a medium heat. Now, along with that, let me go over the ingredients real quick. I have 1 large onion that's diced. I have a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more than a tablespoon of garlic, 1/4 cup of flour, 1 pound of Louisiana crawfish tails.
Mm.
You always, if you're having to use frozen crawfish, don't go by what's on the front, look on the back and see where the origin is. I guarantee you these are Louisiana crawfish because I boiled them yesterday, and you're not gonna get fresh live crawfish overseas. I have 2 tablespoons of tomato sauce, 1 cup of seafood stock. Now I also have a little extra on the side because, you know, sometimes, and it's just really a feel, and I will add a little stock just to thin it out a little bit. It just depends on how I feel. I also have 6 green onions that are sliced and 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley.
Mm.
I advise everybody to keep fresh parsley in their house. What I'll do is I'll get a bunch of fresh parsley, take them off the stem. You can even actually leave a little bit of the stem because there's still flavor in those stems.
Okay.
Put them in a food processor and chop them up. It's not expensive, but it makes a world of difference in your cooking. It is so far superior from the dry parsley flakes you find. Dry seasonings are great. I could not make my spice blend without it.
Okay.
But I always use fresh wherever I can. So I'm going to go ahead and dump the onions in.
Okay. We're certainly jealous of your gas stove. I told you that, right?
A few years ago, we remodeled the kitchen and put in the countertops that we have. I told my wife, I'm fine with that, but I'm switching out to a gas stove. I love cooking with gas. I do not like cooking with electric. You can control it so much better. Okay, that'll just take a few minutes to cook down a little bit to where the onions are nice and tender before we move on.
So are you the chef of the family always, or do you get a break?
Well, whenever my family gets together, whether it's my side of the family or my wife's side of the family, we all share. I mean, I like to cook. I've got some good cooks that I'm related to. I mean, it is nothing for my family to get together and the food, the variety,
Oh,
the flavors.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I cannot say enough how well both sides of my family cook.
So do you have a hard time eating out, Tommy?
No, I enjoy it. That is my time to let somebody
Just relax.
cook for me.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a funny story there also. When my wife and I first met, I was just getting out of the restaurant business. Now, if you've never worked in the restaurant business, it becomes a part of you, and you don't take any time off. I would critique the staff constantly. It took her a while to wean me off of that, and I don't think I'm nowhere near as bad as I was back then. But I think, I think I do okay. But I enjoy eating out. Fortunately, there are a few places around here that serve Cajun food. Matter of fact, I have a friend of mine that has a food truck. He's from Louisiana.
Uh-huh.
And the first time I ate there, I tried this crawfish etouffee, and it was a almost carbon copy of mine.
Ooh.
I'm like, okay, I got to get to know this guy. I had to get to know him, and you know what? I eat there every week, once a week. I skipped out on the etouffee this weekend because I knew I might have gotten some somewhere else.
So he owns a restaurant there, you said? I'm sorry, I missed that.
It's a food truck. It's a
food truck.
He's only open during crawfish season. They do a lot of boiled crawfish. And but man, they do a fantastic job. And then 10 minutes up the road, there's another Cajun restaurant that does wonderful fried seafood, grilled fish. I mean, I'm fortunate that I settled in the area that I did. Matter of fact, the restaurant 10 minutes away, they have a market which is one of the places that I get my crawfish from.
That's really funny, that story. You said when you moved from New Orleans to Arkansas, and you're so used to going to the corner store and getting everything you needed, and then you would walk in there and they didn't have anything you needed.
Yes, that was hard. Okay, I just added my garlic, and I'm gonna let that cook down for a few seconds. Here's my towel.
If anyone has a question for Tommy Centola, please put it in the chat room. So your crawfish, you said, were fresh, and so they have to be. Say that again.
Yes, I boiled them yesterday. They were live. They were live when I got them. Oh my God. Nice. It's a big matter of fact. I'm going to my wife's family this Easter Sunday for another crawfish boil.
And what is that?
Crawfish boil?
Yes, sir.
It's just a gathering. And you get a lot of live crawfish, and you cook them in heavily seasoned water with the addition of potatoes, sausage. I have seen mushrooms. I always include turkey necks because I love the boiled turkey necks. Matter of fact, I boiled more than I should have this time because I plan on playing with the meat. Okay, now I'm going to add the flour and just cook that down for a few minutes because we don't want it to darken too much. Okay. We're just cooking it so the flour taste cooks out of it for just a couple of minutes. And the flour is what causes the thickening of the sauce. Now, Etouffee, translated from the French, means smothered. Okay. So naturally, there's a lot of onions in there because when you cook them with onions, cook them with butter.
So what was your most challenging recipe in the book, Tommy? The one that I won't try.
You know, that's a hard one. That's a hard one to answer because I'm fortunate. Cooking's come easy for me. A couple of days ago, I was testing out my system, and I decided I had some leftover corned beef from St. Patrick's Day. So I thought I'd do a corned beef hash. Never done it before. Well, went ahead, did that. First taste I took, I was like, I ain't touching this. The seasonings were perfect. It was just unbelievable.
That looks delicious.
Oh, we're getting there. We are getting there. Just cook that down for a few seconds.
So tell us about how you decided what recipes were going to go where, or did Miss Ladero Press take care of that?
Well, actually, I'm adding the tomato sauce. Okay. I have actually had this cookbook together for a few years. I was just looking for the right partner. And I'm so glad I found the right partner. I have somebody that believes in me. Right. I mean, believes enough in me to be their first cookbook. And it was a long process finding the right person, but I know I know I found the right person in Ladero Press.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. It's well laid out. The recipes are not, all of them aren't as, extensive. Most of them are things that you can do, even if you're kind of a novice like me. He has sweet potato soup, which I'm gonna let LD make for me. Which I love
Okay,
sweet potatoes.
I just
Go
added
ahead.
the seafood stock.
Okay.
One thing I always tell people, I do have my recipe for seafood stock in the cookbook. But that is making stock is not an easy thing to do. I have no problem if you buy it in the store. I mean, they have it. It's a good substitute. It's never as good as, like if you decide at 9 o'clock that you want to cook this at 5 o'clock, well, you might have a little difficulty making a stock if you don't have one already put away in the freezer.
And you make stock, is it pretty simple? Pretty simple to make stock?
It's not difficult, it's just time consuming. It's just, and having the raw materials of the shrimp heads, crawfish carcasses, crab carcasses, that's what you really need to draw the flavor out into the stock. All right, this is starting to come together good.
Miss Covita, you have a question? Open your mic.
Oh, no, actually, I did that by mistake, but
Okay.
I'm watching attentively.
Okay, very good.
Okay, now I'm going to add the green onions.
All right.
And the fresh parsley. Give it a little color. Now comes the important part. The seasoning. I always advise that you under-season stuff and taste, taste, taste. You can always add, you cannot take out. So I'm going to do some salt, some fresh ground pepper.
That's the big guy.
That's the big guy. The one thing I never cook without is my Creole Shake Seasoning Blend. The recipe is in the cookbook, and it is something it has a special secret ingredient.
Secret
No, it
sauce.
won't be secret once you. It won't be special. It's not special once you read the recipe. And it's funny because that ingredient has actually found its way into my rice. My mother always used to cook her rice with a bay leaf to infuse the flavor into the rice. I have ground bay leaves in my seasoning blend.
And I understand that you might have an herb garden. Tell us about that.
What's that?
An herb garden?
We are working on that. We're building, matter of fact, it's almost that time to start planting. We're in Arkansas, you never can be too sure.
The weather.
It was 30, it was in the 30s this morning.
Oh.
So you got to wait a little bit, but we're getting ready to have those fresh herbs going.
That's going to be very good for you.
Yes, it is. All right, now the important part. Taste.
Taste.
Okay.
You're done. That's good.
I was gonna advise you that when you taste, always use a separate spoon. I have 4 of them, but guess what? I don't have to use it. It's one of those times, people always ask, how do you know when it's good? How do you know when it's right? If you've got enough seasoning. When you first season it, like I said, it's just one of those things. It takes a little time and a little practice. I don't normally believe in measuring. Of course, when I did my cookbooks, I took the time to get measurements, but I actually cook by feel, and that's a good one. That's a good one. So, in order to serve, I'm going to take some of this rice. Put some of the etouffee on top. Again, like I say, if you're not a rice person, you can always put this in pasta, over pasta. There you have it. I tell you what. Why not? Let's have a taste.
Have a taste. I know our audience wish they were there.
Smells good. Even if I say so myself, it tastes amazing.
So when you decide to come back on the show
It's totally-
again, what recipe will you do?
I will find a recipe. What I like to do is I like to find what I consider simple recipes. Something that doesn't take long. Something that's very tasty, very flavorful, eye-popping, and just I'll have to give that a thought. I'll have to look through my recipes. I've been not in the cookbook, but I've been playing around lately with some Asian flavors. Just the other day, I took some crab meat, some Monterey Jack cheese, some seasonings, and put them in a wonton wrapper and fried them. And I have a sauce. I call it a Cajun sauce. It's a lot of Asian flavors, but it's sweetened with the thing I love to use the most, cane syrup.
Really?
To me, there is no better flavor sweetener on the earth. That's just my feelings. I love it.
So we have a couple of questions in the chat room, so let's get to them. What restaurant and meal do you miss the most in New Orleans?
Well, the one I miss the most is one that I will never be able to eat at again, and that's Leroux's. It was amazing. I mean, just I'm fortunate. The chef was never very giving with his recipes. And since I was just starting out, I was houseboy, assistant waiter. I was in the front part of the house. I didn't really get to see a lot of the working ons in the back. He has a dish called crab meat St. Francis, and that's the only dish I have been able to find the full recipe to. I have a version of that recipe in this cookbook called Crawfish St. Francis. I think it's better than crawfish, but then I love crawfish.
The other question is, I'm not a big rice eater. Would this be good over like a Texas toast?
Oh, sure. Matter of fact, I'm going to have to try that. It would work well over toast. It would work well over polenta. It would work well over pasta. If you like pasta, orzo. Orzo is a rice-like pasta that it mimics the shape, but it gives you the pasta flavor.
Miss LD Robinson, you have a question? You're mute.
I do. So in Louisiana, there's obviously the French and the French influence, but you were mentioning that you've been playing around with Asian flavors. And so I was thinking with the Vietnamese influence in New Orleans, will we see perhaps in another cookbook, since you're playing with Asian flavors, will we see sort of that fusion of
Well,
Creole, Cajun, and Asian?
actually, it was Vietnamese was really just starting to gain popularity when Katrina hit. I haven't been immersed in it a lot. Actually, I do have thoughts on another possible, and that is the Creole Italian vein of cooking. It's again, it was in 1881, there are a lot of Sicilians that came to the city of New Orleans. They settled near the French Quarter. They were the biggest vendors in the French market. Matter of fact, the muffalata, which is in the cookbook, and you can't do a New Orleans cookbook without a muffalata. That was created because of them. The key to that is the olive salad. Again, another recipe in the cookbook. The workers from the French market would get off and go to Central Grocery and get a container of olive salad, some cold cuts, some cheese, and a piece of bread. Well, they decided, why do all of that? Let's see what we can do. So they have an 8-inch round seeded Italian loaf with ham, salami, mortadella, cheeses, mozzarella, provolone, with this olive salad on top. And that's how that sandwich was born.
Wow.
So I am part Italian. As a matter of fact, I've got a few different things in my bloodline, but I identify with Italian, being Centola, and I've already started thinking along those lines, possibly.
I haven't perused the whole book, but are there desserts in there, Tommy?
Oh yes. I am very, very big. My wife likes desserts. Normally for Valentine's Day, every year I do a white chocolate dessert. Big one in this one is my white chocolate creme brulee. It is so popular that my friend around the corner from me, we were going on a 3-family vacation in a house we rented. He begged, and I mean he begged, for me to bring everything I needed to make that white chocolate creme brulee.
Wow.
I love it. I mean, the fun thing about cooking, and for those of y'all who grew up being told, you were told 3 things: don't play with knives, don't play with fire, and don't play with your food. That's one. You get to do all
when you're
cooking. And I live by that, although truth be told, I was told that I'm not allowed to buy another knife because I have a few of them.
I'm sure.
But I love, because you don't know what you're going to create, but the more you play, it's endless. It's really endless. Like I say, I've been playing with some Asian flavors just to, just to change things up. And you just never know what you're going to find. I am part Irish. My father's mother, her maiden name was Murphy. every year, my brothers and I march in New Orleans in the Irish Channel St. Patrick's Parade. Well, we haven't the past couple of years, but oh boy, we're looking forward to it next year.
Yes.
So that's where the corned beef hash came in. Yeah, just play. There's no wrong way to cook, and it is not rocket science. If you can read, you can follow a recipe. And once you're comfortable following the recipes, then you can play around. You can add flavors you like, take out flavors you don't. Who knows? You may create the next worldwide dish.
If you were to recreate your kitchen, right? What are the first like 5 basic things that you need to have as a chef in your kitchen? And as I said, I'm sure half of us on this call are very excited about that gas stove. I know that my friend Kavita is, because she loves to cook on gas. But what would be the 5 things that you could not do without in your kitchen?
Well, the stove is the most important. If I would have had the space, I would have had a 6 or 8 burner stove with a door. Unfortunately, it wasn't. You want to make sure you have a clean workspace. I'm fortunate that I have this space right here, and then I have an island over this way where I've got plenty of room to work and plenty of room to prep. A good quality set of cookware is a must. Not necessarily state of the art right here.
Listen, but that is the master. That's the master. Yeah.
But I will never stop cooking.
Right. That's the master.
A good set of knives. Now, when I say knives, you really only need 2. You need a good chef's knife, and you need a good paring knife. Other than that, I mean, there are other knives have good uses, but if you're starting basic, that's what you need. And I think the most indispensable part of the kitchen is a good fresh supply of fresh and dry herbs. You know, it makes a difference in your taste and in your flavor. Like I say, I use fresh wherever I can, whenever I can. But without my dry ingredients, my seasoning blend wouldn't have come to life.
So there's another question about what your favorite comfort food is. Your favorite.
You're looking at it. I just cooked it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That is, and if I think back, another recipe in my cookbook is sausage jambalaya. If you look at it, and you would think, well, that's basic, not very highly seasoned. That's the jambalaya I grew up with. That was my mother's jambalaya. Nothing says comfort to me more than that jambalaya. I rarely make it because I've come a long way, but when I really want good jambalaya, that is what I make. It just it brings me back. It really brings me back.
So can you give us some advice to young aspiring chefs about what they should do to develop their resumes in order to become the chef that you are?
Well, you know, there are trains of thought there. Either a culinary school, which is very, very well. I mean, you can learn a lot that way. Or you can learn in the restaurant, which is what I did. I've not had a lesson. I've never been classically taught. what I've learned by watching, I've learned by doing, and I've learned by reading. And so, but don't go into it thinking you're going to be on TV with your own show.
Yeah.
Those are far and few between. And, you know, those people also, they got lucky, but also put in a lot of work. Restaurant business is not a walk in the park.
Right.
It is a physically demanding job, especially in the kitchen. So you'll find out quickly whether you're meant for it or not.
Mm.
Don't go into it thinking, I'm going to make all kinds of money, I'm going to be on TV, because it just don't happen.
Yeah. You got to love it.
Yes, you do.
You have to love it. And so, is there anything else you want to share with our audience this evening besides that good food on the stove that none of us can have? We keep looking at it,
Well,
salivating.
I think we need to start working on smell-o-vision and taste-o-vision.
I know.
You know, it just, I'm fortunate. My wife and I get to eat this when we're done. Just, again, cooking's not rocket science. It is very simple. You can, if you can read and follow a recipe. Now, my advice as far as recipes, you want to read through the entire recipe before you even think about cooking it, because you need to gather all your ingredients to make sure you're ready. And then before you start cooking, you want to read through it again. But again, it's not difficult, and you're going to save a lot more money cooking at home than eating out. One thing I refuse to eat out in a restaurant is a steak, because I cook it just as well, and I save a whole lot of money by doing it.
Yes.
And if you find a handful of recipes that are quick to cook, I mean, this didn't take long at all. I mean,
No, it didn't.
Have the rice
It did
but
not.
it didn't take long at all. And there's a bunch of recipes. My crawfish scampi is another quick dish, and you can substitute chicken, you can substitute shrimp for those recipes, and they work out great. You know, if you don't like seafood, I mean, I have a sausage and chicken etouffee in the book. I mean, they're just, you can do, but it doesn't long, and you're feeding your family a better meal, and there's more time to spend with your family around your own dinner table, as opposed to trying to compete with the tables next to you and around you.
Well, thank you so much, Tommy Centola. We are happy that you took the time to cook that fabulous meal for us. And the book is called Creole and Cajun through LaderoPress.com, www.laderopress.com. And Tommy, I look forward, please, for you to come back and share another maybe dessert recipe for us on Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation. Thank you so much. Any questions before we go for Tommy in the chat box? I don't want any question to go unasked if you have one. No? If you do, unmic right now.
Okay, I wanted to know, where can you get the cookbook?
www.laderopress.com.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, Tommy, thank you so much for being on Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation.
Thank
And
you.
I hope to have you back really soon. And
I'm
thank you
looking
to
forward to
Ladero
it.
Press. Thank you. Tell your wife, thank you for letting us take the time and spending in your household. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Night.